You don't have to be the brightest bulb in the firmament to understand that history looks different depending on when you were born in time and how much of that history you've seen and how much you were taught and so forth, right? It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. I consider that one of the worst things that happened to the United States as a result of World War II, for example, is that women were forced into the workplace. No, I didn't say were ushered into. I didn't say were sweetly given jobs in the workplace. They were forced in the workplace because lots of men ended up in the military going overseas to try and help people who were in desperate need at the time. Later on, there was a tendency towards normalizing the idea not just of women in the workplace, but of both men and women in the workplace, even though the family unit by that point was pretty well intact. That's not nearly so intact these days. Many, many more people have children without one or the other parent for various reasons, and most of them not good. I bring all of this up because I think one of the results has been because there isn't a parent, a stay-at-home parent, and I don't really care if it's the mom or the dad, by the way, but it traditionally was the mom for a variety of reasons. But because there isn't a stay-at-home parent in the modern world, there is a tendency for values to be expressed to children through schools, daycares, and similar organizations, right? And to make that worse, then there's this sort of Hollywood angle on things. I want to talk about the idea of perversion of children, the perversion of children. That's my subject today on today's Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Saturday, the 26th of June of 2021. Welcome aboard, whether you're on Rumble, on podcast, on the YouTube, the podcast on YouTube. Do that periodically. Have to check myself. In any case, welcome aboard. Welcome, and thanks for coming and visiting with me today. And again, I'm going to talk about the idea of the perversion of children. That's my subject for today. And let me go through my notes real quick to help you to understand a little bit about what I'm saying here. Here we go again. Yes, I am getting old. I remember more than 30 years ago when many of us with children began to warn people the direction most entertainment entities were taking, to say nothing of things like schools, was some sort of effort to drive children to depravity. We, or at least I, didn't talk about things in terms of left or right. I knew precious little about all of that at that point in my life. Now, I would say it's a concerted effort on the part of the left to push things as they are. Why? If I had to guess, it would be to break down society with an eye towards remaking it. What does that mean? It means a shift in the balance of power toward those with leftist perspectives. Sadly, I'd say they've been pretty successful so far. What's your defense? Stop allowing society to raise your children. A thing I've tried very hard to never allow. As hard as it is at times, we must be ever vigilant and working to stop the incessant march toward wokeness, towards leftward indoctrination. Okay, that's the end of my notes. So let me kind of point things out that I haven't said to this point. When I was young, very young, Disney came along, and lots of people argue that Disney was wholesome. You'll forgive me for saying so. I don't recall a time when Disney was particularly wholesome. The fanciful idea of a talking mouse, a talking dog in Pluto, or in Goofy, in Goofy, Pluto didn't talk, right? The idea of bed knobs and broomsticks and Pete's Dragon are, to me, pretty much repugnant. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that, and I'm okay with you doing that. I am, quote, old-fashioned in that regard. And I think where we are today with cartoons and so forth is even worse, far worse than Disney was then. Disney was, by comparison to now, quite wholesome, okay? But the point is, all of these things that came along pushed the envelope just a little bit farther. And at the risk of getting myself into trouble, I'm going to make a statement that a lot of people maybe don't realize. I'm pretty sure Touchstone Studios was created by Disney, and I'm pretty sure the reason for doing so was to have a vehicle through which they could push the envelope a little bit faster and a little bit harder. Was Walt Disney involved in any of this? I don't know. I can't say. I'm pretty sure that various other people have been. And I'm pretty sure that there and in schools there has been a tendency towards indoctrination and very leftist perspectives towards socialism, towards communism, towards various kinds of positions that were anything but American. And I'm not saying that America or its perspectives are perfect. I promise. I'm not trying to say that. But if you compare it to a lot of the other perspectives and viewpoints out there, you will find that in past it was a great deal better. Today you can't really say that because a part of the American fabric, sadly, has become socialism, communism, and various things of similar sort. Right? So you can't really say that today. That's not really something that you can say to the level or degree that you could have done in past. It's just a reality that we've heavily moved more and more towards this way of looking at life that is far more, you could say, depraved, right, than what we had in past. And you know why that is, who's actually causing that to be the case, I'm not even sure. I'll be honest with you, who all is involved. My strong suspicion is it's largely the left. That's my strong suspicion. Do I know that? Can I tell you with certainty that that's who's doing it? Well, maybe not as well as I'd like to be able to do so. But I certainly can say that there is a tendency, in my view, towards moving people into the direction of depravity. And I'm certainly not happy about it. And I'll just tell you that I think it's very likely that what drove that, what started to drive that, was people who really should not be in control of the emotions, the heartstrings, and so forth of your children being there. They were some of them were set up to teach, some of them were set up to watch kids that parents couldn't watch, but none of them was set up to be an emotional guardian, and none of them was set up really to teach your kids right from wrong. In some measure you could say that they were, by teaching history and various things of that sort, but it was the parents' position, the parents' job to do that. But what I'm saying at this point is that there is a perversion, as I see it, going on with children, and it's happening in a lot of cases because people aren't sufficiently seriously invested in the well-being of their children. It's not that they don't do anything for their children. It's not that they're not trying to do things to make their children better, but it's they fail to realize that when you allow for your children to be educated and to be taught right from wrong by a school system or a show on TV or a daycare worker, you are in grievous error if you're not checking to see what that child believes. You don't even have to ask them what they were doing in the daycare and the school or what they're watching on TV. All you have to do is talk to them about what you know to be correct and make sure that they're aware what you know to be correct is in fact correct, regardless what other people have to say about that. So watch out for the perversion of children. It's not some new thing. I don't think it's something that has started happening recently. I think it's been happening for a while now, and I think we all need to be mindful, and I think we all need to make sure that our children are learning the things they really need to know. And they don't need to be leaving that to schools or to daycares or to movie theaters or to streaming services or television or whatever it happens to be. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap things up. Today is, again, Saturday the 26th of June of 2021. For all of you Sabbath observers, happy Sabbath. Tomorrow will be Sunday, the 27th of June of 2021, beginning of the Christian week. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Thank you to everybody who's taken the time to drop in on Rumble, on YouTube, on the podcast, or anywhere else you happen to do that. I am your host. I am Kurt, if I haven't already said that. And today's subject has been perversion of children. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the idea of polite society, and this is a pretty important thing. So if you get a chance, I'd appreciate it if you stop by and check out what I have to say. Hope you're doing well today. Hope things are going well for you. Hope you're having a good weekend. And for those of you who don't get that weekend and who work on it, I again thank you greatly for the fact that you're there. There are many instances where people like me benefit directly from your doing that, and I thank you profusely for doing that. Thank you greatly for that. Hope you're doing well, as I say, and hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, the 26th of June of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.